see the new Star Wars film?
Do you know, that's in Buncrana, you know, the Star Wars.
Is it?
It's in Buncrana, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I was in Buncrana last week and I saw it. I saw the notices up. It's in, what do they call that hall?
Oh, the old bingo hall, looks like an old church or
Yeah.
something. But that's us now. Well, I just asked you these questions. I knew the questions is, I'm just going to say to you,
I was born in a post office in a wee place out in the country called Killaloe. And Killaloe was famous for the True Blues. When I left home in the morning, the first place that I met was the Orange Hall, then I met the Bee Hut. But I came into Derry to play football, play soccer, and I first met a lad called Dermy McClellan. He lived at number 7 Wellington Street. And Dermy then became my friend and my pal. And I must say that throughout that period, it was extremely fruitful and a very kind-hearted type of relationship
with Dermy McLennan.
with Dermy and his mother. His mother was a very simple wee Derry woman, very kind-hearted being. She later moved to Glenfather Park after Wellington Street was knocked down. But I got to know people like Mickey Harkin, George McCarran, Mickey Lynch. These were all people who played for the football team,
Played football,
which was a team called Northland Borough.
good team.
I was useless.
We
Some of them were very good. I must say Dermy was useless too. And the first thing we done, we dropped Dermy from the team at the very first time.
What position did you play?
Goalkeeper.
Were you any good?
Yes sir.
What about Dermy McLennan? What position?
Yes sir. Inside left, but useless. Dermy was in that first match on the 5th of October 1968. All my old pals were in that.
Famous one.
Yeah. And of course, at that march, Jerry Pitt was also present at that march. I was hit over the head, and Deirdre O'Doherty x-rayed him in Nelson Galvin Hospital. That's Finbar's sister.
Finbar's sister. Was he badly hurt?
His head was knocked in, but I know the man who knocked him in. The man who knocked his head was my next door neighbour, a man called Chief Constable, Head Constable Billy Nichol, a real bigot. He says to me, "What are you doing with this pack of opinions, Ivan?" I said to him, "It's for civil rights." He said, "Fuck civil rights."
Was he RUC or B
He was
Specials?
RUC, a total bigot.
So, what's your first memory of like the first meeting or anything that you got involved with the the civil rights movement?
The first meeting that I got involved was in the City Hotel, and an election took place for the Citizens Action Committee. I was elected chairman of the Citizens Action Committee. I suspect the reason for that was because I was Church of Ireland. John Hume was elected vice chairman. And an important thing to note here, there was a man elected at that first meeting called Major Campbell Austin.
Austin?
But he resigned. He was one of the owners of Austin's at the Diamond. He resigned after about 3 weeks.
Why?
As I would say, the unions got on, they got on, but they're wasting their time trying to get at me. It was a waste of time.
And do you think you were elected because it would seem more cross-community?
I was elected first of all for the constituency of Mid Derry, and my election agent at that time was a man called Joe Brawley, and he approached me after that very first march, would I be prepared to stand. So John Hume and I stood as independents.
And did you start the Citizens Action Committee, was it?
I was just one of the people who was involved who started the Citizens Action Committee. But I'm a founder member of a political party called the SDLP. And the founders of the SDLP were John Hume, Paddy O'Hanlon and Ivan Cooper. The Civil Rights Movement was the most dynamic, challenging movement I've ever belonged to. I'm very proud of my days in the Civil Rights Movement. And whenever I pass on to the next world, if I do pass on, I want to be known as a civil rights leader. I am not interested in being referred to as a politician at all. I just want to be known as a civil rights leader.
What were your main demands, from the Civil Rights Movement? What did you
Most important demand, one man, one vote. An end to the B specials. An end to political gerrymandering, because the situation in Derry was that the unionist minority controlled the city. They had to be chucked out, so I had to get rid of them. And the leader of the unionist party in Derry at that time was a man called Major Gerald Glover, who was a very, very evil man. He caused the death of his own brother. He was the director of a firm in Derry called Valentine's, and his brother was shot dead in Crawford Square, Joey Glover. Those were heady, heady days. The miracle of those days were that I can't ever understand how I was allowed to remain. That doesn't shape me, because I'm known as Cooper of the Lundy. And you know what to do with Lundy? On the 18th of November or the 18th of December every year, they burn them.
Were you considered a traitor?
Oh, traitor, surely.
You tell me about your family back, in Killaloe in the early days.
Well, the boycotting that went on against my family was simply abhorrent. And I remember my sister and my mother casting their votes for me in the very first election which I contested. And the scowl and the threats at that time were particularly relevant. But one of the things that really annoys me when I think back on it is that I had a brother and a sister buried in Killaloe graveyard, but they warned me if I attempted to bury my father there, they would shoot me.
That was a loyalists.
Loyalists, ex-B-men.
They were bitter against
Very
what
bitter
you were
against
doing.
me, yeah.
And you moved into Bog then.
Didn't move into the bog, I moved into Crawford Square.
Paisley came round, didn't he? They saying
He came round to commit the ultimate sacrilege. He supported Martin McGuinness for the position of Deputy Chief Executive,
Deputy First Minister.
First Minister.
And he wouldn't have done that years ago.
I remember at that time John Hume and I could not believe that he was going down that route. And in my opinion, he done that simply and solely to spite the SDLP.
Did he still have a dislike for them?
He hated the success of the SDLP, he simply hated it. And at that time, Brian Faulkner had involved the SDLP in the executive. John Hume had been appointed by him to be Minister of Commerce. Paddy Devlin was appointed Minister of Labour, and I remember I was appointed Minister of Community Relations.
Was that under one party?
That was under Brian Faulkner was the leader of the Unionist Party at that time, but a horse through him and he broke his neck in that particular episode. He was fatally damaged that day.
Did he die?
He died, surely.
I was boys like I was reading it. It's boys like what Craig? What was he?
William Craig. He was the man who banned the first Civil Rights March on the 5th of October 1968. And on the march across the Derry Bridge, which is often referred to, that march, there were thousands of people at that march, and a token breaking of the police barrier was carried out by James Doherty and Micheál Canavan. I remember James Doherty found it difficult to get over the police barrier, but Micheál Canavan, who was a very determined sort of person, he got over first jump.
And is that the 5th of October?
That was the 18th of
November.
November.
No, that was after the 5th of October, was it? And
That was the big march. But on the 5th of October 1968, the man who took the films that damned the Unionists and damned William Craig was a man called Gay O'Brien, the RTE cameraman. And he did a magnificent task in filming that demonstration.
on the 5th?
Yeah.
That
The police were under the command that day of a man called Maharg.
who?
Maharg.
Mahar?
And his deputy was a man called Majimsi. And he was not a good person. He was a very, very evil man.
What were they up to?
They were battering us and water cans and all the rest of it.
Where?
And Duke Street,
Duke Street.
yeah.
And did you bring over Labour MPs?
Yeah, we did. We brought over Kevin McNamara, Stan Norm and Paul Rose.
Why did you bring them over?
They first came over in 1969. They all came over during that period.
Did they come over to witness what
They
was
come
going
over
on?
to witness the discrimination because the discrimination was rank.
And there was bother, terrible bother on Duke Street, as you were
There
saying.
certainly was. The famous individual, Claude Wilton, who was at that march and who, like myself, kicked with the same foot. Claude was a Protestant and a great supporter of civil rights.
Did that ever conflict with you? Did you ever think, maybe I should because I'm a Protestant?
No,
Or did you just think, what's right's right?
I got involved in the civil rights movement through my commitment to non-violence and right, and I don't apologise for being a member of the civil rights movement.
Is that where the SDLP came from, that
The
non-violent?
SDLP came from the civil rights movement, but the SDLP was founded by John Hume, Paddy O'Hanlon and myself. We were all three civil writers.
That came after, did that come in the early 1970s?
Civil rights movement came in the early 1970s. The first party conference was held in the Castle Ballroom in Dungiven, which was my constituency.
And did you see a big connection between yourselves and the black people's civil rights movement in America?
Of course we did. We modelled the whole thing on Martin Luther King, and he of course led the blacks in America to the realisation of their objective too.
He was a good man, wasn't he?
He was a good man. Bloody Sunday, I got involved in that. And as you know, James Nesbitt played the role of me in that film,
That was a brilliant
which
film.
was a very dynamic film.
It was brilliant.
And the man, the architect of that film was Paul Greengrass. You see him over there.
Heard of
He
him?
won the Golden Bear at Berlin. I was there with Jimmy Nesbitt and James Nesbitt and I walked down to the Checkpoint Charity in Berlin. But we won the Golden Bear in Berlin for that film, Bloody Sunday. That film has been shown internationally, and in my opinion was a very good film.
It was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. Everybody in the town really enjoyed that. Now, did that not make you feel, but that there's a big legacy there for you, that you know it's recognised, that all the good was recognised?
Well, I feel very humble to have seen my painting on the Bogside in Glenfella Park of John Hume and myself in that picture, and Claude Walton. Claude was a great man, and in fact the only row I ever had in my life was with John Hume about Claude Walton. I had decided, there was, at that stage there was elections to the Northern Ireland Senate. Claude had already fought the seat on 2 occasions against the Unionists, so I said to John Hume, I want Claude Walton nominated for that position, and I more or less shamed him into supporting Claude.
What's the famous line about Claude? Say nothing.
Claude the Catholic proud. Say Andy, see Claude.
People still say that, even though he's dead.
But just listener yet.
He was a great man. He played his part in the Civil Rights Movement.
But just one more thing now. It's just on reflection. What would you have done differently, you know, at the time?
We made many mistakes that day and latter days. But I'm, above everything else, I'm very proud of my involvement in the Civil Rights Movement. And as I've said to you, whatever day I pass on, I want in my headstone to say, Ivan Cooper, Civil Rights Leader. I don't want anything else referred to.
Not politician?
No, not at all. The legacy the most important legacy of all was, we were responsible for getting one man, one vote. We were responsible for getting an end to the B specials, and we were responsible for ending gerrymandering. That's the legacy.
Just like that.
Yeah.